The chapter begins with the fact that we are introduced to the main character Lee Soon-min. He appeared in another world and started explaining the basics to him. This world is called Iria. There is magic and various monsters here. In this world, everyone is fighting to survive. Iria summons different people from each dimension, and it all starts with the city of Genebis. Sun-min says that he did not study martial arts and magic. Because of this, he is called classless. The huge man says he has to explain everything to him and have a snack at the same time. After they go into some alley and he gives the protagonist water to drink, but immediately spits it right into his eyes. It wasn't really Vona, but goblin paralytic poison. All this time, the protagonist pretended to be an ordinary child. This man wanted to deceive a simple novice and sell him into slavery. After Sung-min hit him between the legs, and then pulled out his knife and stabbed him. In parallel, he said that he was still a beginner, but he had 13 years of experience, and that one should not trust others so easily. After he robbed him, took all the money and the dagger, he also noticed that his body had become different, more precisely. It had returned to where he started from. Previously, he was already an adult pumped-up man covered with scars, and now he is a schoolboy again. After that, we are shown memories. Previously, he was 27 years old and he was a C-rank mercenary. He had no talent, so he wanted to become stronger and one day found an unknown dungeon. After a lot of effort, he was able to get to the chest and opened it. There was only one stone inside. When he once again carried it with him, it was returned 13 years ago. After thinking about everything, he decided to open the status window and saw that all statistics were completely reset. He expected to come back, but with all the skills, but no. He is not happy with this regression, because even though he remembered all his 13 years, but not perfectly, many moments have already begun to be forgotten. Cool magicians or martial artists can get into this world, but most often classless ones get into Iria. And since they do not have special skills, they can learn any of the directions. But most often they die in the harsh conditions of Iria before becoming strong. And for all 13 years, Sung-min went through hard trials and bullying. He went into the building and met an old man. He wanted to carry out the procedure of remodeling the skeleton. He made himself a fighting skeleton, bones that make it easy to learn martial arts. Now an acupuncturist was able to do it. Earlier 13 years ago he tried to do something similar, but he was refused because he had already learned the skill, but now he remembered it and made himself a cool skeleton. The second possibility is a true heavenly cultivation technique, a technique that allows you to accumulate internal energy. Thanks to his knowledge, he bought it at the local library for very cheap. Already on the first day, he received 2 reinforcements on the first day of his summoning. 3 opportunity is to participate in the Colosseum prize. But it will only be open in a year. Now he needs to start training and developing skills, as well as earning money just to survive. To earn money, you need to kill monsters. After approaching the merchant, he wanted to buy things, armor and a sword, but he did not have enough money, even less than 240,000. After he tried to put pressure on Pity, but it didn't work out. Then he decided to bargain and give his clothes and money to get what he needed. But the merchant just laughed, but immediately noticed the potential of the boy and gave him the armor and said that he owed him money. After already walking through the forest, he began to think about all this. He did not understand why that merchant decided to help, because no one can be trusted. And then he remembered how he first got into the forest. Then he was very pathetic and laughed at himself. After that, he attacked the goblin and easily killed him. He used the one-shot one-corpse technique. This is a movement in which the spear shoots using the left hand as the barrel, so most often there are wounds on the hands, and Sung-min realized that it was worth shaking his hands. And even though this is a useless regression, this is just the beginning. After they show us the house, after entering it, Sung-min paid for accommodation. He also turned out to have a very cool spatial bag that costs a lot of money, but he explained that he bought it cheap from a familiar merchant. He brought the claws and teeth of goblins and liquids from their bodies, for which the owner allowed him to stay for another 2 days. After that, the owner explained that he thinks Sung-min is very cool, because when he came and offered to pay him with monster body parts, he thought that Sung-min would die in a couple of days. But 2 weeks have passed and he is still hunting and bringing prey. After that, he called him talented and he didn't like it. He decided to go to sleep, and already in his room, he remembered that he was not talented at all, because in his previous life he could only reach C rank and that was it. After that, he realized that he remembered his martial arts from his previous life, but these skills are bad. Even if he pumps them to the maximum, he still won't be able to climb up, so he needs to become stronger. After that, in the morning, Sung-min was going to go to the forest again, but a girl called out to him. She asked him if he was going to the forest and even scolded him a little. It was the daughter of the owner of Jack, Lula. He explained to her that in order to survive he needed to kill monsters and there was no other way. But she yelled at him and said that even here he could find another job. For example, to get a job in their hotel or something like that. But of course he refused. Lula didn't understand why he didn't want to. because he had to constantly risk himself to earn money. But he just turned around and said he would be back for lunch. In a previous life, he had already tried to live such a life and earn money at a regular job, and now he does not want to live like this. He wants to live better than last time. Already in the morning he heard the ringing, which means a new person will appear. He saw a girl of the same age as him appear from the portal, and then he saw how she was given the same water to sell into slavery. After that, he wanted to leave, but accidentally bumped into a huge bandit and he hit him. He assured that Sun Ming had broken his bone. It turned out that all these bandits were from the same gang, and Sun Ming had not even reached rank 3 in martial arts. After that, he managed to shout that she should not drink this water since it is poison. After the head of the gang wanted to hit him, but Sun Min dodged thanks to the technique and hit him with his elbow and inflicted a series of attacks. But the bandit has a very strong body, so it didn't work. After that, he wanted to use his spear, but immediately she came up to him and asked him to repeat, but she easily blocked the bandit's blow and beat these 3. It turned out that it was a boy and he did not know where he was, and also that it was a heavenly demon. There is a demonic cult. The strongest becomes the head of a demonic cult, and his disciple is called a young master. From an early age, he practiced martial arts of the highest rank. They were about the same age when they were drafted, but there was a big difference in strength between them. After that, they were already in Sun Min's room and met. His name is Wei Jai Hai, and he is 13 years old, a year younger than the protagonist. Later, he remembered Sun Min's words and asked him how he dared to speak to him in such a tone. He of course apologized to him. After that, the young master criticized his martial art and said that he would be able to teach him, but in return he demanded one condition: to become his friend, and of course Sun Ming was just shocked. After we are shown the memories of Jihyun. Since childhood he wanted to have a friend, but his father was very strict and said that there was no need for friends. And even though the father shouted at his son, he understood that his words were terrible. After that, they show us that there were 50 people in training, but a 10-year-old boy killed them all. Even my father understood that his skills were very frightening. Literally, when he was a kid he started his training, so he didn't have time to make friends. Sung Min asked why he should be his friend, to which Ji-Yun replied that they are the same age and why they can't be friends. Then they agreed and shook hands. Ji-Yun started by deciding to teach him the amethyst cloud techniques, after Sung Min accidentally addressed him to you, and this greatly upset Ji-Hyun. After he briefly told about the techniques and explained why he would teach this particular technique, a month later, and because of a coincidence, he learned the amethyst cloud cultivation technique in 1 month, and even though a little time has passed, he has become much stronger. While talking to himself, he was attacked by a huge orc, which almost killed Sun Ming. He easily pierced his body with a spear. After Hai Lung came up to him during the inspection, he came here because of the orcs, after he introduced him to Sanrin in the city. Hai Lung said that the protagonist has great power and he could be useful to them. After that, we are presented with more heroes. Black Knife Wang Pei, a magician from the school of Well as Rainier. After they asked Sun Ming if he knew what was going on, he replied that the orcs had founded a new village in this area and they were attacking villages and killing novice explorers. Therefore, there was a reward of 20 million for the destruction of this village, and there will be a reward for the corpses of the orcs, a total of 35 million. Sun Ming wondered if it was a good thing, but whether he could trust this gang. But in any case, he agreed. After he saw 2 without class and they are simple porters, they are used as manpower. Already on the way they discussed the details, namely the number of orcs. There are about 50 of them. After Sung Min asked the plan, they split into 2 teams. In the first one he and the master will be, and in the other all the others. They will try to lure out as many orcs as possible and kill them outside the village. With the help of magic, they will adjust their scent so that the orcs can smell it. After they split up, Sun Ming decided to ask the porter his name and gave him a choice whether to stay or run away, because he probably won't be able to protect him, but he can't leave because the guild will beat him badly. After Sun Ming decided to get water and make mud and smear himself in it to mask his smell, and the master appreciated this act. After that, he wanted to force the porter to go ahead and distract them so that they would attack from behind. But he would definitely die, so Song Ming decided to go first. A fight started and he easily killed 2, and continued to kill others. At the same time he was thinking why he decided to help the classless one and realized that he was in the same situation, so he could not just let him die. After using the distance technique, he killed a couple more orcs and almost killed the porter, but Sun Ming managed to save him. After the fight, the master cut off all the orcs' ears and gave them to the porter, who in turn thanked Sun Ming. After that, they merged into 2 groups. After that, Black Knife throws his dagger at the magician, and the master tries to kill the monkey, but Sun Ming saves him. Immediately we are shown memories of how earlier Sun Ming dragged things for others, passing by the execution. It was explained to him that this man killed all his comrades for the sake of a reward and recognized the same master. After that, the master said that he was surprised, as if he knew everything in advance. At the same time, Song Min confessed in his head that even though he saw him 13 years ago, he remembered him forever because it was his first execution. After they started the battle, Song Ming was a little weaker than him and the fight was very difficult for him, but he read the movements of this master, so he could not hit him. After Sung Min confessed that he mixed deadly poison into the mud and began to mock him. Then the master took the porter prisoner and said that if he took even one step, he would cut his throat. But Sung Min explained that the only reason he helped Brass was because he just looked like him. He decided to attack the master and ran at him, but Brass just fell back with the master and he pierced his stomach. After the fight, Sun Ming and the monkey took the bodies to the mercenary guild and received a reward. When he got home, he was met by Jai Hyan, who was very happy about the appearance of Sung Min. Lying on the bed, he realized that Brass had died because he didn't have enough strength. After Ji Yun asked if he had killed someone, he smelled human blood. He briefly told about this situation and about the one he killed, but Ji Yun sensed the lie and asked directly, "After all, how could a classless one kill a second-rank master?" It's clear that after Ji Yun's training, he would be able to do it, but he realized that he was special. When he walked through the streets, he saw a lot and learned about the situation of the classless. Most of them literally eat garbage, and we are shown an analogy with the murder of a beetle and a rabbit. But when Song Ming was summoned, he immediately went into the forest and hunted monsters. Ji Yun understood that everyone goes hunting initially, but no one can start killing, and Sung Min coped with it. He also expressed the second suspicion: he has no talent, but he has the skills as if he has been studying for years, noticing that even though he is a weakling, but his skills are quite honed. And then I asked one question: who are you? Sung Min started to deny everything, but Ji Yun said he didn't really like being lied to. After Sung Min said it was his secret and didn't want to tell it, Ji Yun offered to exchange secrets. He decided to give 20% of his inner energy in exchange for a secret. After that, he asked only one thing, so that when he told his secret, he would not kill him. As a result, Ji Yun took off his blindfold and confessed that he was a girl. Her father hid this information from the guild, so she had to hide it all. Of course, Sun Ming was shocked. Then he told his own, namely, that he is a regressor, that is, he died and returned to the past. After he confessed that in fact his true age is 27, not 14, and she might have thought that he manipulated her. After she expressed her thoughts and he thanked her, of course, she didn't miss the opportunity to tease him, but before everything, she had to give him her 20% of energy. After that, they explained to us what internal energy is. Later, during the energy transfer, she explained to him the basics of this. Due to his weak body, he was only able to absorb 10% of the energy. Because of the transfer, she was very tired. She said she would teach him the highest spear technique, the strongest. Sun Ming thanked her and she hit him, because friends shouldn't say that. Instead of thanking him, she asked him to tell him about his past life. He told her that when she arrived, she became almost the best. She left the city for 3 years. Then she decided that she would teach Sun Ming the technique and go on trips, as she wanted freedom. Then she asked what he wanted. He said he just wanted a better life. After they talked almost all night, a month later, they decided to spar. She gave him a head start in 20 movements. The first thing he started with was his technique, then tried to launch a series of attacks at high speed. After that, he continued to try to strike her at least one blow, but she easily repelled all attacks. After 20 moves, she had already attacked and defeated him, but she noticed that Sun Ming began to feel the enemy, and this is a huge progress. Then they agreed to meet in 10 years and fight again. After that, they started fighting, because Sung Min does not believe that he can become at least as strong as her. But Jin tells him that in just 3 months he has become even stronger than he was in his previous life, and that because of her he limits himself. When he calmed down a little, he still decided to make her his life goal and even hinted that in the future they would have a romantic relationship and mating. Of course, Sung Min was very embarrassed because of this, and after that they separated for a long 10 years. After that, Sung Min himself decided to leave his hotel. The owner's daughter guessed this, because it was the first time he had cleaned his room, to which Sung Min said that he was actually leaving. She liked Sung Min, which made her very angry. After that, the owner himself came up and asked for forgiveness, and also gave him a magic cape that will protect him from arrows and swords, and can also maintain the temperature so as not to freeze or vice versa not to get too hot. He said goodbye to him and asked him to take care of himself, and Song Ming set off. After the owner's daughter caught up with him and asked for forgiveness for the words, she confessed her feelings to him